Hi, my name's Una Cahill and I'm from Longford, and I'm delighted that you can join me in this video today. So over the next couple of weeks I'm going to be showing you different ways to look at nature and get engaged with the world around you outside. And it may not be outside, it could be your houseplants inside or whatever you see as nature. So by the end of it, I hope that we'll have a really nice painting that I'm going to be making here from my studio, with some guidance from my dog Sue, who's sitting beside me here. And it'll reflect the young people of Longford's time during the COVID-19 and how you discovered how to look at nature, and I hope that we can make something really lovely together. This week I'm going to be showing you how to look at trees and how to draw them and enjoy creating your own trees and showing you different ways of doing it rather than just the normal kind of conventional tree. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so thanks for joining and I hope you enjoyed the video. So now I just want to let you know that like every week I'm going to want any sort of drawings or collages or paintings that you make. I don't mind what I get at all. I'm just giving you ideas in these videos so you can really do whatever you want basically. I'm not expecting you to do exactly what I've done or whatever. This is just kind of giving you some examples of what you can do. Basically when you're starting, I'm going to be just showing you ways to prepare before you even start, because that's really important. So I have laid out just some newspaper here, just because if you're dealing with paints or anything like that, it can get a bit messy, and you should probably always cover your kitchen table or wherever you're going to be doing this, just because then you don't annoy mommy or daddy or any granddad or anyone. And I always wear an apron no matter what I'm doing, because to protect my own clothes. And you can wear like a big shirt, or the way you do in school, or wear an old apron, or anything that'll cover your clothes basically. So I have my newspaper here, and I'm just going to be showing you different ways to prepare your paper, or whatever kind of way you want, whatever you want to use. So I just have bits of an old telephone book, the whatever 11/8/11 type thing. I just thought it was a really nice design, and it'll be nice to draw on as well, so I've painted that, so I'll just show you how I did that. And I've just got some wrapping paper from a present I got years ago that I kept that I liked, which I'll draw on that as well because it'll be really pretty. And then I'll show you how to tea stain or coffee stain a piece of paper, because it always comes out with a nice effect, and it'll be less intimidating if you're worried about a blank page, because then you've already marked it, so it's grand, So yeah, I'll just show you them bits now.
So I just have a plain piece of paper here. Just to note, I'm using cold coffee here. Please don't use hot coffee or tea. Get a guardian to make the tea or coffee for you, nice and strong, and then let it sit on the inside of a counter, away from any young children or anyone else, so nobody gets hurt. Just make sure to wait for it to cool down. So basically I just have kitchen towel here, and I'm just dipping it into the cup and then dabbing it onto the page. Be careful not to over wet the page, because then the page would buckle, but if you have strong enough tea or coffee, it still comes out with that lovely brown effect. So you can either use tissue, or if you're using tea, you can actually just dab the tea bag on, and sometimes then the tea bag will burst and the tea leaves will, or the little granules will come out onto the page, and that always looks super cool as well. So yeah, have fun with it, and then you can let it dry on the table or on the floor. I have some newspaper print or 11/8/11 paper here. I have two jars, one with water and one with the paint, and I've continually added water to the paint to make it more watery. The more water you add, the more watery it'll be. And then I painted it on, and you can leave that to dry on the table or on the floor, and then use it. Here I've taken some tea stain paper and I've started the outline of a tree. So I've done the trunk already and now I'm just adding some branches. So you can really just take your time with this, because once you have the base of this done, we're going to just get some sponges and build the leaves on to the tree. So add each arm at a time, and to every arm then you can add another arm. Basically, I'm just using pencils here, but you can use marker or you can even try it with paint. I'm going to be doing another trunk with paint anyway later on, so if you want to see me do that, you can. Yeah, so the pencil is nice anyway. I've used like a dark purple and I started with blue as well, but you can really use any colour you want. So basically you can see me there, I'm not using any particular lines. I'm kind of either jagging them or I can make them any way I want really, because if you really study a tree, they always kind of go in random directions. I'm just putting in little strokes, little quick strokes, and that just kind of gives you a nice effect for the tree. I'm emphasizing those strokes on where there would be more of a darker spot on the tree, and then I'm just adding one of those little gaps in the tree as well. So basically it's just constantly making these tiny little lines on the trunk, and then I go back over down the sides to where the tree is slightly darker, and then I just add some more branches. So the more branches, the more realistic you're going. You don't have to put that many, you can stop here if you want, you know. I'm just kind of going ahead here. But it's really relaxing, and if you have nice music on in the background, it can be lovely. I'm also doing some leaves here. It's just like just scribbling basically with your pencil. I describe the shading later on anyway, and how to make it darker and lighter there with just the one colour. But basically that's just to add some foliage to the tree before we go to the sponges. You don't necessarily need to do this part because you'll be covering the tree with sponges anyway, but I just wanted to show you. So at the ends of each branches and all around the branches really, you can add these scribbles really, because if you look out to any tree, the leaves are all over the tree. So then I just add a couple of little lines there at the bottom around the tree where there might be grass, and then a line each side, and then I just do a little lines at the front of the tree to show the shading. Now I get my jar and I get my sponge and I dip the jar in. You can use a plate either, I just used a jar because it was there ready for me. And you can make it nice and watery, dip the sponge, make sure the sponge isn't too wet, that's what I'm doing, I'm just dabbing it onto the plate, and then just start dabbing. It's really fun, and you can go as light or as heavy as you want. You don't be afraid of it, but if you just do really quick little dabs, then you'll see the nice effect. So I'm just dabbing away there, and when you're finished with that, I got a pink pencil and I put it on the outside of the trunk just for shading. All you have to do is add a couple of lines on the outside and in through some of the branches. So this next thing I'm doing is my pencil tree. So basically I start with straight lines. So I'm basically making the outline of each pencil, and I've used orange here and then I switch to red. So I start with the outline, and then basically to represent each branch you're making a pencil. Now you don't have to do many because the pencils are quite large, and we've simplified the idea of the tree here. So they can kind of go in any direction that you want them to go in. Like the way I was just drawing the tree there, branches go in every direction. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. So that's why it makes it so much fun. So basically once you've done that, then I add some yellow, make it really nice and colourful. And I've used old paper here. It's really nice if you use some of the maybe newspaper print that I showed you already, or the tea stained ones, the paper. It comes out with a really nice effect. It makes the drawing more interesting as well. I do a nice watercolour base after I'm finished the drawing on this to make the paper look nice. I'm adding the nibs here, which are just little triangles on tops of each pencil, and then I'm just colouring at the very top to represent the nib. And then I'm just going along the bottom side of each pencil with a nice, just a very kind of scribble there all along the bottom, just to show the shading of each pencil. As you can see it really there with the red, and then I add the little triangle and the nib. I've just sped it up, but then I add 2 little birdies, so 2 legs and a body, eyes and beak, and they're very simple. And then I add 2 little lines just to represent their wings. And then I get my jar of paint from earlier, and I get just a small brush. You can use a sponge here either, or you can use the paper towel again. Just make sure that the paint is nice and watery, and gradually from the trunk of the tree and all around, just add the watery paint, and it always makes a nice effect. And I just added some purple. I hadn't used any purple marker, so I just added my colour a little bit. And then I just do a couple of lines down the bottom to represent the ground. And then I just add more spaced out lines to the pencils to give them a shaded look. And that's it, a pencil tree. Here just I have some plain paper. I'm just going to show you how to use cling film and how to make a nice design onto a page. So this is just for a backdrop. So I have really watery paint again with a fat brush, and I'm just dabbing in from the plate, kind of in and out from the paint to the jar. You can pre-mix the paint, or you can have the paint on the table, on the plate. So basically I just paint it along. Make sure that the paint isn't too watery here, because you can see on the left hand side I put down the cling film onto the page, and you need the cling film to stick to the paint, but the left hand side there wasn't enough paint on it, so I'm going to redo it there. Yeah, so just make it thicker. You see, I just added more paint here. And then once you have that done, put down the cling film and just kind of scrunch it with your fingers, and that's it. Leave it there to dry for a little while, and once it's dry it'll be ready. Then when that's dry, basically pull off the cling film and you'll see this really nice effect on the paper, and it gives a lovely effect to the paint as well. I had a bit of a struggle there with the cling film stuff, but yeah, it makes for a really nice thing, and then you can reuse the cling film for another bit if you want to. So I have some beech hedge here. They're just leaves from a beech hedge from outside. Dad had been cutting it earlier, so I didn't cut it down off the hedge. But basically I've just put it on a plain piece of paper, and then added the parchment paper. You can use newspaper here either, and basically I'm using an oil pastel here, but you can use a crayon or you can use a pencil either. I've started with the red and then I added some yellow, but I thought that maybe the darker colours come out better, so I went back to the blue. But the yellow actually ended up being really pretty with it, so you can add a few more colours if you want to. And this is grey crack, and the leaves from the beech come out really well on it. And you don't have to use this particular paper, you can use heavier paper, which I'll show in the next video. But it always comes out for a lovely design, and then you can cut out, being careful with the scissors of course. You can cut these pieces of paper out and put it onto a larger white piece of paper, and it makes for a lovely piece of art. And then you just lift the parchment paper off, you take the tape off and remove the plant. And then if you put the parchment paper or newspaper, whatever you have, back onto the white paper, it serves for a lovely backdrop and looks great. So I did the same thing I did, but just on heavier white paper, and I used like a thicker branch, and that lovely green effect came out. So now I'm just using that as a backdrop for a tree that I'm going to print some leaves onto. So I start with some like watery orangey paint, and I do the basic outline of a tree. So I start with the trunk. Don't be too careful about it, it's fine, trees aren't perfect. So even if once they're all connecting and all the branches are connecting, you're doing good. Sometimes they don't even have to, so just make these lines out from the base. And then I added some orange, and I later add some red just for some shading purposes, and it just makes it look nice and professional. I have the paint quite watery here. In other parts I've made it quite thick, so it kind of looks kind of has a nice texture to it. And then I just make some crayons there at the bottom. I just have a flat edge brush here, but you could use any real brush, I think. So now that I have that done, I'm going to get to the same leaves again, and I'm just going to take each leaf off. Now it's better to print from the underside of the leaf because you can really see the lines in it. So I'm just, oh sorry, it's a bit fuzzy there. Important, I put a lot of paint onto the first one here. You'll see it now, it comes out really heavy. It's all about chancing it, isn't it really? But it comes out okay, but if the lighter, the less paint you have on the leaf, really, the nicer it comes out. So I just use some purple here and just dab it in, and then you can see the outlines of the leaves, and once you go the whole way around, then it looks really nice. It's really fun to do as well, bit of printmaking. See, the less paint I had there, the nicer it came out nearly. So to prepare the paint, it's best to have like a plate, and then get your paints out. If it's poster paints, that's great because they're always nice and watery. But if you're using acrylic, make sure to wear gloves, and then you can just add a little bit of water, and yeah, you don't even have to keep dipping the leaves into the paint, you can keep going. I kind of continued on with the same without putting any paint on them for a few tries. You can experiment yourself anyway and see what you think. You'll get a feel for it after a few minutes. It's brilliant crack. I had music playing here. But really just put down the leaves anywhere, because leaves fall on trees very it is quite random, so you can basically just put them anywhere you want. So then I just went for it. I kind of got a few random colours. I tried a few different sizes of leaves, and I even put two together there at one point, and that was fun as well. So yeah, this is the last thing I'm going to be showing you today. It's just the basics of drawing that type of tree. I'm basing it off the little house plant beside me, but I always start with the trunk. So you don't have to be perfect about the lines, but always be aware that every branch on a tree is connected by another branch, and that's how they grow. So I just did a little V here, and I'm not being perfect with the lines. They don't have to be straight. Some trees can be really random how the branches go. So if you need to take a second, a few minutes outside today or tomorrow, whenever you finished your schoolwork or whatever, you can go and have a look at the different types of trees around you. I guess I'm basing this tree off what you'd see during the winter at the start, because there's no leaves on it, but I'm going to be putting some leaves on later. So do you see, I'm just basically, for every little branch, I'm adding a couple more branches to that branch. And I just added another little one down here by making a little mark in the middle. They kind of always, even if you look at leaves, they all have the same kind of connecting lines. And even if you look at our own veins or our blood vessels on our wrists, you'll see the way they have that connection as well. So it's a gradual process and it does take time, but you can do this with your markers or your crayons or paints or whatever you feel like. I just added some grass down the end there and some shading, just a few scribbles, just to give you an idea about where the shade of the tree is. The sun is behind this tree right now. And then I just shade in the sides. So I described this earlier, and I guess I'll just do it in a bit more detail. It's a scribble effect. It's like a very old technique used by artists. Oh, the camera's really fuzzy here. Sorry guys. Hopefully, I think Mum makes it in focus now soon. But basically you're scribbling and you're making these tiny little scribbles, and you're making it slightly darker at the bottom than they are at the top, so that you can see where the light is hitting the tops of the leaves rather than the bottoms of them. If you do that loads of times, it gathers. So basically trees are all these tiny little things put together, so it takes a little time. I'm going to explain now. I actually put a hole in my paper there. I was pressing so hard. So if you press really hard on the line and then slowly lift it off it as you're still making a mark, it'll come out. I think that's still out of focus. I think Mum focuses in it now. We didn't realise at the time that this was still out of focus. Dodgy. Does she focus? Oh, there we go, lovely. So I'm focusing right into the page, and then I start to move my pencil. So keep it really heavy on the page, and then make it lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. And you see how the colour of the pencil goes brighter? That's basically how you shade. So you mark it, it's all about the weight you're putting on your pencil. So I'm scribbling light and then heavy on the page, light, and then heavy on the page, and it's just constant over and over and over and over and over like that until you filled the tree. Ah, you can see it there in focus. Lovely. My mother's a natural video maker. Yeah, so that's basically it. So I just keep going like that, and that's it. So that's me finished. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you got something from this and you can have a lot of crack with this at home. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to contact me at all. I'm on the Facebook or the email, and please send your work in. I'm really looking forward to what you do for this. Anything at all will do. I'll be delighted with it. Thank you so much to my mum for videoing, and for my sister Sheena for helping me with my my Facebook and everything, and to Longford Library for having me. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.